Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. No, social contagion. Gender transition rates reach equilibrium. Despite claims of exploding rates of being trans and rapid social contagion, a new Swedish study shows an equilibrium of gender transitions. By Aaron Reed, Missoula, Montana. In recent years, anti-trans lobbyists and politicians have claimed that there is an explosion in transgender identification, claiming that identification as transgender was due to an ongoing social contagion. A New York Times article reported on a sharp rise in transgender young people in the United States. In Montana, Senator Tom McGilvray stood and argued for a gender-affirming care ban, citing the explosion in young trans people. Even in the United States Congress, Dr. Jennifer Bowens, representing the right-wing Christian Family Research Council, cited a steep increase in trans people, blaming the increase on social media. Now, a new study in Sweden appears to show gender transition rates appear to have leveled off among all age cohorts. Rates of gender transition seem to have leveled off. Koch, Martin and Tilly, J. Lucas and von Essen, Emma and Moberg, Ilva and Byrne. Ian, The Demography of Sweden's Transgender Population, Patterns, Changes, and Socio-Demographics, August 22, 2023. Available at SSRN. https://ssrn.com/abstract=4427508 closing parenthesis. Social contagion theory claims that there is a massive increase in people identifying as transgender, and that this increase is due to social contagion, or people essentially catching being transgender from one another. While the social contagion theory does not have evidence when it comes to transgender identification, for instance, most trans people experience gender dysphoria years before coming out, it is accurate that more transgender individuals are coming out now than in previous decades. However, this new study suggests that the rates may now be stabilizing. The study, released as a preprint in the Social Science Research Network, looked at over 7,500 legal gender changes and dysphoria diagnoses in Sweden and determined that the rates peaked in 2018, with no evidence of further increases, and have since stabilized. This is also reflected in the Youth Risk Behavior Social Survey, showing a modest decrease in trans identification after 2018 in the United States. The rates of transgender identification no longer seem to be exploding exponentially, despite what anti-trans activists claim. The leveling off is significant because it closely mirrors another major event where another once discouraged trait became slowly accepted by society: left-handedness. In the early 1900s, the rates of left-handedness hovered between 3 to 4%. Left-handedness rates then skyrocketed to 12%, where it has leveled off ever since. This was, of course, not caused by a massive social contagion of left-handedness. Rather, increases in acceptance led to people feeling comfortable using their left hand. In the 1940s, anti-left-handedness researcher Abram Blau decried the cultural influences of left-handedness and the progressive campaigns of allowing the child to be free to choose the side for himself. In an article released in 1979, Dr. Bernard McKenna said of the growth of left-handedness, "We used to call everybody a deviant who didn't conform. We just eventually learned better." There was recognition by medical authorities that left-handedness was normal and that tying the hand up in a child often caused stuttering. Many have hypothesized a similar trend with the prevalence of transgender individuals. In past decades, being identified as transgender was viewed extremely negatively. Young trans individuals often faced conversion therapy or institutionalization, while adults encountered substantial gatekeeping around care. However, in the last decade, research highlighting the importance of allowing transgender individuals to transition has grown, alongside a significant increase in social acceptance. The apparent increase in transgender individuals can likely be largely attributed to the removal of many of these negative barriers. If this trend continues, we can anticipate a peak in gender transition rates as individuals previously barred from care gain access. These rates should then stabilize, reflecting the actual proportion of transgender individuals in society. This study shows we may be seeing that stabilization now. There are several key caveats to consider regarding this study. Firstly, it focuses solely on legal gender marker changes and diagnoses of dysphoria. Many transgender individuals do not receive a dysphoria diagnosis, and obtaining legal gender marker changes can be challenging. Secondly, the study examines Sweden, where the barriers to accessing care differ from those in the United States. Consequently, the stabilization rates in both countries may vary as their populations respond to these different barriers. Additionally, some people under the transgender umbrella may not pursue medical transition, struggle to obtain a dysphoria diagnosis, choose not to seek a diagnosis, or may not opt for legal gender marker changes. The rate of transition could vary among these groups. Finally, the increasing discrimination against transgender individuals likely influences the leveling off. The true prevalence rate might not have been reached yet. With those caveats, this new study provides an important rebuttal to the idea that transgender identities are spreading explosively through rapid onset gender dysphoria and social contagion. Instead, transgender people appear to be able to come out more now than ever before, and the growth in transgender people coming out is something to celebrate, not fear.